what we see is women are pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, cutting calories more, cutting carbs more, fasting more, doing more exercise. And you're trying to push this door open and push this door open and push this door open when it's a pull door. Because if you're exercising too much, it's going to overstress your body. You're going to have some inflammation from that, and that inflammation will shut off fat burning. It feels like, man, my body just hates me. It's working so hard against me. Like I'm trying to do everything right, and it's not listening, right? And I'm hitting the targets, and that's so frustrating. But it's not that your body is working against you. You are actually working against your body. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Metabolism and Menopause Podcast. My name is Stephanie, and I'm your host and CEO of Vitality OET. We are a women's nutrition, health, and fitness coaching company that focuses predominantly on women's hormones, particularly as they start going through perimenopause and onwards. We know that you start experiencing so many changes in this time of your life, whether it's the hot flashes, the night sweats, irritability, brain fog, or weight gain around the middle that seems to have come out of absolutely nowhere despite you not changing anything. So you go back to those tried and true methods of cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing a bunch of cardio, yet it feels like nothing is working. You're putting in all this effort and you are just moving backwards. But we know now that your body is inherently different now that you've gone through these hormonal changes. So our mission here at Vitality is to really help you understand how your body changes in this time of your life so you can reach those health and fitness goals, feel in control and at home in your body again, live a life full of vitality, and really understand how to take care of this new body of yours. So today is part 1 of our fat storing to fat burning masterclass series. So there's going to be 2 episodes. We are going to cover so many things, everything you need to know about your fat burning pathway, your storage and building pathway, how estrogen is going to impact that pathway, the change that you've been through perimenopause and menopause, all the factors that are preventing you from having an open fat burning pathway, what is sending you that signal to store despite eating less and moving more, all the things that you can do to really open things up and get your body working for you again. Because the truth is, if we do not address this, you can hit your calories perfectly. You can have the best workout plan. You can eat super clean and you can never lose weight. And I see this on the internet all the time. I made a post the other day about calorie deficit in your 30s. Now you're gaining weight in that calorie deficit in your 40s. The amount of people who commented going, you must be cheating. Your calories aren't low enough. You're not actually in a calorie deficit. Yeah, you need to be in a calorie deficit to lose weight. But guess what? If your fat burning pathway is blocked, and your storage pathway is overstimulated, your body is getting the message of, hey, we have enough, let's store, despite the fact that you're eating less and moving more and doing all the right things. And there's so many things that impact this. So while yes, in order to lose weight, you do have to be in a deficit, that only works if your pathways are working properly. And this is where so many women go wrong. This is where so many coaches go wrong, where I have people reaching out being like, hey, I'm working with these women, 40 plus, 50 plus, their body just doesn't respond. Like I cut the calories, we get them eating enough food and then nothing's working. I'm like, yeah, because you haven't addressed the root issue to see if they can even burn that fat. Like, can their body actually open up that pathway? There are so many things we need to consider. And so this is why women are left so frustrated. They're left feeling super burnt from past programs that they've done. There's no trust. They don't want to go into another coaching program because this part was missing and they don't understand their body and how it works and what's specific for you. So we're going to really dive into these things. So when we look at metabolism, I want to touch on this super briefly because this is something that we talk about lots. You'll see it in social media everywhere. And your metabolism is how good your body is at burning calories. Fast metabolism means body's very good at burning calories, like a diesel truck. That's awesome, right? Like it's going to guzzle fuel, not great for your bank account. But if that's your body, we know that's good. You want to burn lots of fuel, right? If your body is not so good at burning calories, it's more like a hybrid car, your little Toyota Prius. It's really great on fuel efficiency, right? Like your gas bill is going to be lower. However, it's really good at preserving energy. It lasts longer with that same amount of fuel. We don't want that. We want our body to be very good at burning calories because obviously if your body's not good at burning calories, weight loss challenging, weight gain very, very easy. But what happens when your metabolism is slow and it's not good at burning calories? what happens is your body is not good at bringing energy into your cells. So we see that you have this food doesn't enter the cells as much, and that's going to increase inflammation. And so that actually turns off your fat burning pathway through a whole bunch of different cascading mechanisms. And it can actually lead to overstimulation of that fat storing, building type pathway. And unfortunately, as we go through perimenopause and menopause, you guessed it, hormone levels as they start to decline is going to make that far more likely to happen. So not so great. So we want to be in our fat burning pathway for a number of reasons. One is that it's going to send the signal to your brain of, hey, we need more energy. Let's burn fat and increase our metabolism. Like, we need energy. Let's pull it. We're not getting it, right? That's what you want. Where what we see with like the fat burning pathway as well is it's very important for health, because when that fat burning pathway is on, it really helps eat up dead cells, gets rid of things, helps us fight off viruses and illness and stuff like that. Whereas if we are not ever in that, we see a accumulation of these dead cells. Those are going to increase inflammation more, which is going to, again, further block that fat burning pathway. But also we can see a progression of disease here. We see an increase in like cardiovascular disease. We see an increase in diabetes, metabolic dysfunction. So like insulin resistance. We're going to see like high blood pressure, cholesterol levels, cancer, neurodegenerative diseases. So that's things like, dementia, Alzheimer's, all these things, because that's due to inflammation, and these cells that accumulate will lead to that. And then we have replication of these cells that can cause tumor growth. So like, it's not just oh my gosh, I need to lose weight problem. This is like, okay, there's a major health implication here. And so we want our body to get into that fat burning pathway and be able to flip flop between the two. Then we have our fat storing pathway and fat building or storage type pathway. So we have plenty of energy. That's what it's saying. Let's grow, let's store nutrients despite, eating less, moving more. If this is kind of stuck, quote unquote, on, your body's thinking that it's got enough, despite the fact that you're cutting calories, cutting carbs, doing all the exercise, you're doing the fasting. It's not working, right? And so I want to make it very clear before we move forward is that the storing building pathway is not bad, okay? It's only, quote unquote, bad when we don't have that metabolic flexibility. We can't switch between fat burning and the building storing pathway, because the building storing pathway is going to be important for putting on muscle mass, right? But if we're stuck here all the time, then we're going to see this accumulation of dead cells, more inflammation, hard to lose fat. So there's a lot of things here that we need to be aware of, but this is not bad. What's not ideal or causing disease or inability to lose weight is you can't flip between the two. And there's lots of things that will cause this, and we'll dive into that a little bit more. So talking specifically about each pathway first, and then we're going to talk about estrogen, because here, we're going to talk hormones, we're going to talk estrogen, very important, right? In terms of how does estrogen contribute to this? And then we're going to talk about all the things that actually cause this, because obviously it's not just estrogen alone. Otherwise, every single woman in perimenopause and menopause would really struggle with this, right? So this is going to help you assess all the factors so you can really get into that fat loss, that fat burning pathway, have it nice and open so you can see changes. And again, this is the issue that we see with most coaches, most women. Like people struggle with this a lot, right? So it isn't that your body is working against you, which is what it feels like, right? It feels like, man, my body just hates me. It's working so hard against me. Like I'm trying to do everything right. And it's not listening, right? And I'm hitting the targets, and that's so frustrating, but it's not that your body is working against you. You are actually working against your body. Okay. So let's think about like have you ever been, this happens to me all the time, where you like go to, push open a door and then ends up being a pull handle or vice versa, and you're kind of embarrassed. And you're like, oh, that's like, okay. But you're able to fix it right away, right? What we see is women are pushing and pushing and pushing and pushing, cutting calories more, cutting carbs more, fasting more, doing more exercise. Go, 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 right? Like we're pushing, pushing, pushing. And you're trying to push this door open and push this door open and push this door open when it's a pull door. It's never going to allow you to go through by pushing. Wouldn't it be so much easier to just like pull? Like how exerting would that be to be pushing against a pull door for hours and hours, days and days, years and years? you would give up. And that's where a lot of us are, is that we've given up. We're frustrated. We just don't know what to do anymore because you've been pushing when you should be pulling. We need to open that door the right way so that your body can walk through it, so that your body can walk through that fat burning pathway. That's what we want. So generally, what most people try to do is people try to jump straight into doing the things that are supposed to turn on that fat burning pathway, right? AKA drop their calories, right? You join a coach, they drop your calories. Hey, we're going into fat loss. That's what most people do, right? But if your body is stuck in that fat storing mode, not only are you going to see no results, or like very unlikely, or you lose it and gain it back right away, your energy is going to get worse. Who's experiencing poor energy? A lot of us. Your sleep is going to suffer. Another check mark. You're going to start losing muscle despite the fact that you're working out. You'll start experiencing more hormonal imbalance type symptoms. The hot flashes, the night sweats, irritability, mood swings, the brain fog. You're going to have more bloating, digestion issues. You're going to feel more inflamed and puffy. Hair can start falling out. And you're gaining weight. So you're skipping what the key to success actually is here, which is getting your body out of that overactive storage state. You're going to be really hard pressed to see success and maintain it if you don't do this first. So this is why your diet is not working. This is why your past methods aren't working anymore, because things are blocked. Okay, the wrong highway is open. So like I mentioned, with this storing pathway, you get that signal of, hey, we have plenty of energy, let's grow, let's store. And so it is good because it's going to help stimulate muscle growth, right? Like we need that signal to build muscle. That is good. However, if it's overactivated, it's also going to promote fat storage. It's important for supporting immune cell growth, right? Like we need this in small amounts to help build our immune system, but it's actually harmful when it's overactive. It can enhance inflammation if it's too high, and we know in perimenopause and menopause, inflammation is a big issue that we're dealing with. It's also going to increase glucose uptake, which can lead to insulin resistance if it's overactive. So this pathway is super useful for building muscle, which we want in perimenopause and menopause. We want to maintain as much as we can. That helps us with our insulin sensitivity. It helps us burn more calories at rest. It's great for mitochondrial function to help us have more energy, to be healthy, to get rid of these dead cells and stuff like that too. Like everything's just functioning properly, right? However, when it's constantly overactive, which is going to be due to inflammation, high stress, past dieting attempts, we're going to cover all these things in a little bit. It's going to lead to weight gain and metabolic dysfunction, aka poor blood sugar control, which we know already happens during perimenopause and menopause. When we go into that fat burning pathway, it turns on fat burning, so lipolysis, which is really important. It helps enhance insulin sensitivity, so we're going to have better blood sugar control, which is going to help with less fat storage. It helps boost mitochondrial function, so you have more energy and you're not feeling tired all the time. It's going to help reduce inflammation because it actually helps lower pro-inflammatory cytokines, so there's less inflammation being emitted in your body. It can clean up dead cells, which help, otherwise those dead type cells, senescent cells, are going to increase more inflammation, which is going to block your fat burning pathway more. So this is a really important process. And it's also going to, just help with fat burning, repairing things in your body, overall longevity. So it's really important that we can flip into this. So we want to flip-flop between the two, build enough muscle, make sure we're getting enough nutrients, and then be able to flip into that burning mode and going back and forth. But so many of us have stayed in that fat burning mode for so long that now our metabolism has slowed down, right? Before you could do, 2,000 calories was your maintenance. And then you were eating below that, obviously, to try and lose weight, right? So then metabolism comes down. So now your new maintenance is at 1,800 calories. You drop calories again. And then, that's going to be your new maintenance at 1,600 calories. But a lot of us, what we do is we go from 2,000 to like 1,200, which is too low, by the way. And so then that's your new maintenance. And that's because of internal things that are happening inside your body through hormones, through, your thyroid function, so many things that are going to change things internally to slow down how many calories your body's burning at rest. And so then that's where your new metabolism is. But then you quit the diet and boom, you go back to maintenance. You also stop working out as much, not prioritizing protein, all these things. Now there's a massive gap between calories in, calories out, and now you're gaining weight. But you never did anything to bring your metabolism back up. And we know if metabolism is slow, it's going to increase our risk of insulin resistance. It's going to increase inflammation. And so then if we're back to eating highly processed foods and not taking care of ourselves, that's an extra stress on our body. And so we see all of these things that your metabolism is slow, but also you have all these other factors that are going to be blocking your fat burning pathway. So then you try to drop down again, but that's still your maintenance. So we need to bring that metabolism back up and also open up the fat burning pathway so that when you go into fat loss, you can see changes. But so many of us are stuck down here that we just don't know what to do. And so you're frustrated and you're trying to skip the part of like speeding up metabolism, opening up fat burning pathways so you can go down that road. But we all want to skip that. That's why you don't see changes. This is why you are struggling so much, because we're not flipping between the two pathways and we never did anything to address our metabolism. These are two huge problems. So that's the basis of fat burning, fat storing, the two pathways. Very briefly, I could dive so much deeper, but I won't. But now let's talk specifically about estrogen, because estrogen is going to have a massive impact on fat burning and fat storing pathways. So estrogen normally is going to activate that fat burning pathway. It is a key regulator of AMPK, that's our fat burning pathway. And it's going to help promote fat oxidation, mitochondrial health, glucose metabolism. So that means energy production, burning fat, and being able to control blood sugars. Very important things. When estrogen starts to go down, we see that that fat burning pathway activity drops. Metabolism naturally starts to slow down a bit. Fat burning is going to decrease a little bit. Insulin sensitivity gets worse, so we have a harder time being able to control our blood sugars. We have less mitochondrial activation, so we have less energy production being produced. So that's going to lead to you feeling more tired, more fat accumulation. When you're tired, you're less likely to make the choices that you want to make, right? We're going to see more fat storage because with that fat burning pathway kind of being suppressed, it's not as active. Our body is going to naturally start favoring that storage pathway, especially around the abdomen, which really sucks to hear, I know, but this is just how our body works. And then obviously we're going to have more insulin resistance because we're going to see that estrogen goes down, that fat burning pathway activation gets worse. So, that fat burning pathway helps insulin sensitivity as well. So we're going to see a few different things kind of combined there, plus that loss of muscle. Muscle helps insulin sensitivity as well. We lose up to 10% of our muscle mass in those 3 to 4 years before we go a year without a cycle. And so that's going to make your insulin sensitivity worse, which is going to make, overeating easily. We're going to have more cravings, more energy crashes, blood sugar issues, which lead to fat storage. And so we want to, be aware that estrogen does play a role in this. So despite you not changing anything, internally things have shifted to want to, to block that fat burning pathway. We see that's less active. Okay. So there's less things turning that pathway on. But then also we're going to see there's a lot of things that are going to kind of make that fat storage pathway be on a little bit more as well. And estrogen, of course, is going to play a role there too. Because estrogen is going to when it goes down, sorry, let me capture my thoughts here. When estrogen starts to go down, we see that building pathway becomes overactive. Our body begins to prioritize storing fat and prioritizes growing pathways over the repair pathways, right? When those repair pathways aren't on, we see more inflammation. We're going to see more belly fat accumulation because really high activity in this particular pathway is going to favor fat storage there. We see that increase in inflammation. This is like a really, really tough one because inflammation is going to both block that fat burning pathway and then cause some overstimulation in that storage pathway. But then that storage pathway is also going to produce more inflammation, further blocking that fat storage pathway. So this is like a really big cycle that we need to break, which a lot of people have no idea how to do. Then we have more muscle loss as well, right? Which I mentioned, despite having this like building pathway being really on, the muscle building signals become a lot less efficient with estrogen because estrogen does help support building and maintaining muscle mass. So when that goes down, we are more likely to lose fat, especially if we have high cortisol, especially if we're stressed out and go all the time, especially if we're not having enough protein. we're going to see muscle loss and fat gain. That swap in body composition, which we don't want. We want the opposite, right? We want to decrease fat mass and increase muscle mass. So this shift of like low fat burning pathway activity and high storing pathway activity is going to result in fat gain. It's going to result in insulin resistance, a slower metabolism, and more inflammation. And all of those things further block that fat burning pathway and further push you into that storage pathway, which we don't want. It really creates that perfect storm for menopause weight gain, especially around the belly. But obviously, estrogen declining is not enough to change everything, right? Like what happens when estrogen declines is it really exposes everything that was already happening that it was making up for, like blood sugar control. You know, you were probably already struggling with this. And then when estrogen left, it was like, you know, the icing on the cake that just boom, there you go. Or muscle growth, you know, like it was helping maintain muscle mass. You weren't doing enough to help build and maintain that muscle. And then when estrogen declines, you lose it. And so estrogen is like, the way that I like to explain it is, let's say that you're sick, okay? And all of a sudden now your household activities, the house just goes crazy. Like all of a sudden there is dishes in the sink that like, you know, starts getting messy. No one's unloading the dishwasher. The fridge is empty. Meals aren't cooked. There is dog hair everywhere. The laundry is piling up. It's sitting in your washing machine. You're going to have to wash it again because it smells like mildew. All the clothes that were in the dryer are now super wrinkly, which leaves you frustrated because now you got to deal with that. Like all of these things and the chaos, just like, oh my gosh, what happened? Like, and you're just so stressed out, right? That's like estrogen. Is the problem that you got sick? Or is the problem that there weren't systems and help and support from the family and people in your house to help maintain the household more evenly, more balanced, that everyone was pulling their weight? This is like when the key player on like an NBA team, they get traded out and the franchise goes to crap, that team starts losing all the time. Is it the fault of that one player that left? No. There's a whole other team that's supposed to be helping, supporting. So are you going to just like hope and pray that, oh, I hope I just get this magical person that'll bring our franchise up again? Or are you as the coach going to work on improving the skills of your players to help improve, make sure there's more balance so that if something else happens or someone gets injured, the team doesn't go to crap? That's estrogen. Estrogen is your key player. She has been putting up with everything. She has been the one, she's like you in your household, right? Like she's the one that's taking care of everything. She is pulling up the ratings for everyone. She is pulling up the slack. She is making sure that she is picking up after people so that, you know, nobody notices the chaos. So then when she leaves, she exposes how crappy things were working in your body beforehand. So it's not estrogen's fault. You should be thanking estrogen for everything that she has done to get you to this point. And now we got to look at ourselves and be like, okay, I let you down, girl. I'm sorry. I had you doing a lot. I was relying on you way too much. And that's not okay. I burnt you out. I burnt you out. So are you just going to hope and pray that things will magically get better? Or are you going to start, working with the rest of your team to get things working properly? That way we're not seeing this massive drop in chaos ever again, right? But it's going to take time. Training a team takes time. Getting the results from all your hard work will take time. You don't spend 2 sessions with a team and all of a sudden they're superstars. No, you have to invest the time. You have to invest money. You have to invest resources, patience, recovery, like challenging them, but also making sure they're recovering enough, that they're working together, reestablishing communication on the court, making sure the signaling is appropriate, that everyone's working cohesively. That is not going to happen in a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. And guess what? Your body is a little bit more complex than a sports team. So this is going to take time, which sucks to hear, but it's the truth. So estrogen decline really is just this catalyst that kind of speeds up everything and makes you feel like you woke up, you got hit by a bus, that bus put that thing in reverse and ran you over again and then pumped it over and boom, ran you over again. Right? So let's actually dive into what causes these fat burning pathways aside from estrogen declining to shut down that, and then what's pushing things in that building pathway, because it's not just estrogen, right? And I'm going to be very brief on this. I'm going to do more in-depth episodes for some of these factors. Otherwise, we'll be here forever. And I want this to be like consumable, understandable, and you get it. Okay. So what causes your fat burning pathways to get blocked, to decrease activity? Why can't we get in there? Right? So this pathway is like the body's energy sensor. It turns on when energy is low to promote fat burning, glucose uptake, and mitochondrial function. So it should turn on if you're fasting. It should turn on if you're eating low calorie. It should turn on when you're in a deficit. If you're doing those things, you're doing all the right things and you're not seeing changes, this is the problem. This is a big wake-up call, okay? So what shuts it off? One is going to be excessive calories and overeating, obviously. If we have too much, especially like tons of extra sugar, like processed sugars, thinking candy bars, sodas, chips, lots of fats like, or chocolates, all those kinds of things, that's going to tell your body, hey, we're actually getting a lot of resources. It is not necessary to turn on fat burning because like we've got enough coming through. That makes sense, right? This is very, very typical post-diet because we eat more and exercise less. So this is going to make a massive change from that where you were to where you are now, resulting in fat gain. And your body is like a sponge. It is ready to receive that, right? So this makes sense. We see this post-diet for a ton of women who weren't taught how to come out appropriately so that we aren't just flipping a switch and storing everything that we're eating above our maintenance. This is a huge mistake, and this is why we have a program for our clients that post-dieting, they have a successful fat loss phase, they are able to maintain, and then why we have a VIP program. It's our most affordable program, but it's only monthly check-ins where they get to learn and we get to like wean them off slowly so they can learn how to do this on their own depending on how many fat loss cycles they want to do or if they have to do it again in the future. Because, things will come up and you're like, oh, I gained a little bit of weight, I want to lose some more. Now you know how to do it and how to come out of it without gaining weight. So it's that like almost like training wheels. We're slowly taking those off so you can start having a little less support and learning how to do this properly, because a lot of people will do this or something happens in their life, and now we need to step in and support a little bit more, because having excess calories all of a sudden in times of stress is going to shut off your fat burning pathways as well. So this is where a lot of people go wrong and they don't learn this side of things, which is what that part of our program is for. The second thing that can cause this fat burning pathway to shut off is actually the opposite. Under eating for too long. And like I said, this slows down your metabolism. You used to be at 2000, you drop to 1200, you're there for a long time. That's your new maintenance. But now you're overeating, which again shuts off that fat burning pathway. You end up storing all that extra fat post-diet, but your metabolism is still down here. Remember what we said about slow metabolism? Slow metabolism means it takes longer for energy to come into our cells, which means potential for insulin resistance and also inflammation. Both of those things are going to shut down or block that fat burning pathway and really push you into storing. So if you've been in a diet for too long or too often, and you've dieted a lot in your life, or you've dieted for more than 12 weeks at a time, metabolism will slow down. So this is where people stay in fat loss for too long because they're excited and it's working, and then it stops. Or you get tired and you revert back to your old ways, and boom, this is where that problem happens. This is why so many people don't do this on their own well, because it is very challenging, right? When do you know that if it's when you're down there for too long, right? How do I know when it's time to come out of that? How do I know if my metabolism's slowing down? There's lots of factors that come into this, and the fad diets, the low carb, that doesn't solve that problem. Keto doesn't solve that problem, right? So that's another issue that we need to be aware of. Number 3 is high insulin levels, because insulin levels suppress or slow down that fat burning pathway by signaling that nutrients are abundant. It's like, oh, we have lots of energy. I'm needing to like push this into the cells. We have lots we can store, right? So that's going to shift our metabolism away from burning fat, and it's going to go into energy conservation. And there are two things I want to make very, very clear about this. One, this is where snacking all day is terrible. If you're like, oh, I'm a grazer, even if you eat low calorie, this is part of the problem, because if you're grazing all the time, blood sugar is just like up and elevated all the time. So that shuts off your fat burning pathway. This is where meal timing is actually really important. And a lot of people don't realize that they can give themselves insulin resistance even from under eating just by grazing all the time. The other thing that we see is that we don't want to cut carbs, and there's a reason for this. And that's because of the next point, which is high stress and cortisol. So if we are in a stress state all the time, and you're like, oh, I feel fine. No, girl, I thought that was me too. Literally just took my Dutch test. Oh, I cannot wait to show you all the results. Cortisol is sky high. Oh, your girl is stressed, but I feel great. I am going to events. I am networking. I am feeling fulfilled. I love the conversations I'm having with people online, but I'm very on, right? Quote unquote on. That's a stress. You know, I have to give a lot. So when you are stressed, cortisol goes up. You know what happens? Breaks down muscle mass, takes it to your liver. Liver turns it into sugar, dumps it into your bloodstream. Despite not eating, despite not having carbs, despite fasting, right? So the sugar is going up. Insulin goes up. What happens when insulin goes up? It tells our body, hey, we have an abundance of nutrients we should store. Despite not eating, despite not having carbs, your insulin will rise when you are stressed, regardless if food is there or not, telling your body that, hey, we have enough, let's store. Is that making like anyone go, holy crap, that is me? This explains so much. It should. But then people are like, okay, but carbs, if I don't want to raise my blood sugars, carbs. No, but carbs are going to help lower your cortisol so that it's not breaking down muscle and putting it into your bloodstream. We want to maintain muscle because it helps support our blood sugars. So what we're seeing is with this cortisol going up and we need carbs to bring it down, we need to learn how to eat carbs appropriately. Because again, if we are not eating, but cortisol is high, insulin is high, cortisol is also going to increase your inflammation. Those block your fat burning despite not eating and eating low calorie and cutting your carbs. So stress and being very busy and on the go and rushing and not sleeping and eating the low calorie and go and cutting your carbs and running from one place to the other and deadlines and you're upset with your boss and your kids are pissing you off and now you got to go to your in-laws and they're going to judge you on what you're wearing or whatever it is and you're dealing with grief and taking care of sick parents. But we're not stressed. And then to sit down, we relax and doom scroll on Instagram, getting pissed off seeing, oh, she's so fit. So-and-so, oh my gosh, like, I can't believe they did this, you know, politics that, economy this, like, yeah, we're okay. We're okay, right? No, we're not. We have never been this stressed out in our entire lives, but it's been so, like, unaware of it. It's insane because it's just quote unquote normal. I'm used to it. Doesn't matter. Your body is telling you, I don't care if you're used to it. We are not okay. And this is what happens. The other thing too that can really help or cause your fat burning pathways to be blocked are going to be sedentary lifestyles. So not being active enough or often enough, because movement during the day, not just that one workout throughout the day, is going to help open up that fat burning pathway. So this is when we see, you know, oh, I get my workout in, but I'm not seeing changes. You need to get some movement in throughout your day. So we have a challenge going on with our clients right now where they have sticky notes up in various places of their house. And every time they see it, they got to do either 10 push-ups, 10 squats, 10 lunges, just to get some little movement snacks in. And that makes a big difference. But then there's the other side of the coin where, you know, you're exercising too much. Because if you're exercising too much, it's going to overstress your body. You're going to have some inflammation from that. And that inflammation will shut off fat burning. Right? So this is where we need to assess your body and be like, is it that you're not moving enough? Is it that you're getting in your workouts, but the workouts aren't appropriate, or they're too much of a stress for you, or you're working out too often? Because there's too much or too little can both shut off your fat burning. So this is where we need to assess and understand, like, are we pushing on this pull door? Like, how do we take a step back so we can actually pull that door open? This is what we need to figure out. And this is where a lot of people don't understand. They think they just got to push. When in reality, all they're doing is, you know, closing that fat burning pathway. And then chronic inflammation is like one of the biggest ones. Because if we have low-grade inflammation, that's going to block your fat burning pathway. And the thing is that you can go years with chronic low-grade inflammation and have no symptoms. You have no idea it's even happening. So there are a lot of things that cause inflammation. Are you ready? Because I can guarantee you're going to have a few of these. Alcohol. Oh, that's a tough one, right? We don't like that one. Alcohol, caffeine, food intolerances and sensitivities, smoking, physical and emotional stress. If you have a hyperactive immune system, you get sick often, struggle to recover, toxin and chemical exposure, the SAD diet, so very highly processed foods. This includes like your protein bars and your keto wraps, right? If you're someone who has chronic infections, obesity, if you have poor blood sugar control, poor lipid panels, right? Like your HDL, LDL are not where they're supposed to be, endothelial damage, that's damage to your arteries, so high blood pressure, for example. You're not getting any activity or movement in, or you're overtraining or over-exercising. You're dealing with trauma and grief. You're not having good sleep. You have high stress. All of those things cause inflammation, which are going to shut off your fat-burning pathway. Who here has more than 3 of those things on that list? Yeah, we got things to do, but this is things that people aren't aware of, right? And so you can do all the right things. But if we have this stuff going on under the surface, which can go undetected for years, unless we're assessing this specifically, right? Then your fat loss efforts aren't going to work. This is what we do in coaching. We assess all of these things so we can say, okay, now we can drop our calories because the pathways are open. That inflammation is down. The things blocking fat burning are no longer there. We've pulled you out of that storage mode. Now we can do this. That's how you're going to see success. This is where people miss it every single time. This is where I see women come in who have had multiple coaches in the past that have done pushing, and now it's going to take me a long time to get that door open in the other direction, right? And then, of course, the last one for shutting off our fat-burning pathway is going to be an overactive storing pathway, because the storing pathway is going to shut off that fat-burning pathway. So what causes that storage pathway then to be on, since that's one of the factors preventing fat loss? So we know that this storing pathway is a anabolic or like a growth promoting pathway. It's essential for muscle building, for cell growth, protein synthesis. However, excessive activation, right? This isn't bad if we have it, just if it's excessive and it can contribute to metabolic issues, aging, disease. So here are the things that overactivate that building pathway. Excessive protein intake, surprisingly, particularly high leucine. This is an amino acid that's found in like meat, dairy, protein supplements. It strongly turns on that building pathway. So this is something we do as a last resort with women because we know that muscle is so important in perimenopause and menopause, because you can lose up to 10% of your muscle mass in the 3 to 4 years before you even go without a period. Less muscle mass equals a slower metabolism. Slower metabolism means more inflammation, more insulin resistance. That's going to block your fat burning, right? So this is not the first thing that we would ever do with someone. This is something we assess very carefully, and we've only had to do in a couple people. So this is not something that I recommend. However, again, we need to know, like, how do you know if this is you or not? Right? You need someone to look in and really assess all these things. So there is definitely a sweet spot required for most women, because most women are under eating protein. Like, so many women are under eating protein and typically getting it from processed sources, which is not ideal, right? The lack of muscle is going to be a much bigger problem for them as opposed to the building signal from protein. So this is not something I recommend any woman does without proper guidance from a coach or practitioner. We, again, like I've said, we've only done this with a handful of women. So do not do this one. This is very specific, and your muscle mass is so much more important, and getting enough protein for that than the potential for increased growth. So this is where we need to be very meticulous about how we are applying this. The next thing is the frequent eating and snacking. Like I mentioned, that's going to increase your insulin, right? And so we want to make sure that our insulin comes up and then it slowly comes down, and then we'll eat again and it'll slowly come up and then slowly come down. That's what we want. We don't want to have blood sugar spike, drop, spike, drop, spike, drop, and we don't want to see, because that leads to fat storage as well. But if it is constantly elevated because we're snacking all day, that's not good either. It's going to reduce our ability to get in that fat burning phase in between and clean up all those dead cells, keep us nice and healthy, reduce inflammation. So this is where we want to make sure we're eating every 4 to 5 hours. Amino acids can be really helpful here in between meals because it can signal to build muscle without turning on insulin. So then we're not seeing like a double push towards that fat storage pathway. I personally like Kion aminos. There's capsules and there's powders. I prefer the powders myself. I like the lime and watermelon. Honestly, I hated the mango flavoring. There will be a link for that in the show notes for you if you want to utilize that. You'll get 10 or 20% off if that's something that you're interested in. The other thing that is going to really push that storing pathway is high insulin and carbohydrate intake, because insulin is really going to push our storage pathway. However, this does not mean cutting out carbs, because remember, if our carbs are low and cortisol is high, we're going to see cortisol and insulin resistance together anyways, which is going to be worse for you in that storage pathway, and also your body will not release fat. So this is where we need to understand how to eat carbs and like the order of things. So we want to aim for balanced meals, eating veggies and protein first, and eating most of that protein before going into our carbohydrates. So that's going to stabilize our blood sugars. Insulin won't come up as quickly, and then we're good. It empties out of our stomach more slowly. This is great. So we do not want to cut out carbohydrates, because otherwise cortisol will go up and that will shut off our fat burning and increase storage. So it's understanding how to eat carbs while stabilizing blood sugars at the same time. Chronic stress and cortisol dysregulation, that's again going to lead to insulin resistance. It's going to lead to more hormone production problems. So we're going to see more imbalances. We're going to see our thyroid function slow down, which slows down our metabolism even more, which is going to lead to more inflammation, more gut health issues, liver detox problems, which is going to change the toxins will actually go into our fat cells, change the structure, making them even harder to break down. And we already know how challenging that is. We'll see more muscle loss. So the high stress really affects every single situation that is going to block your fat burning and push you into fat storing. So this is something that we are massive in. This is one of the big assessments that we do, is a stress tolerance assessment. And we really see like what phase of like high stress you're kind of in, if you're burnt out and low now, if it's been chronic stress for a long time, if it's acute, because depending on what you score there is going to make a difference in how we approach things to improve those levels, including how many carbs you're going to eat, how often you're going to eat, the type of exercise that you're going to do, because this is critical for improving to make sure we open up those fat burning pathways and we pull you out of that storing pathway. Okay, and then the last one is going to be overeating. That's going to send a signal to store calories, store food, store fat, right? So think about like, I'm so good during the week and then I blow it on the weekend. This is what's happening. So that's something else that we need to work on, and making sure it's a sustainable, proper way for you to actually eat with your lifestyle that you can enjoy and don't feel like you're going to binge on the weekends or you can't have things, because you can have things. It's just learning how and when, and how do we do less extreme things so this isn't happening. It's not a cycle that you're experiencing all the time. And this is, again, something that we work on in coaching. So this is, oh my gosh, we're already at like 40 minutes. What happened? I was really hoping it was gonna be like 25 minutes every single time. Okay, so we are gonna have a part 2. Part 2 is gonna go into all the ways to fix this, but it's really important to understand what is happening first, so the fixes make sense, and I can say this will help this part, this will help this part, this will help this part. So if you enjoyed this, make sure you share it with your friends for the 2-part masterclass. The next episode is going to be on how to fix it. Make sure you subscribe so you do not miss that. I hope you enjoyed this, and part 2, here we go.